On a chilly December evening in Washington, D.C., the city's streets glistened under the glow of streetlights, the air thick with anticipation and the bite of winter. The nation's capital, always a stage for power and ambition, seemed especially tense that night, as if everyone sensed something was about to happen. Inside the Revelers' Hour, an upscale restaurant favored by politicians and lobbyists, the atmosphere was lively and sophisticated. Glasses clinked, laughter echoed, and the hum of conversation filled the air. The usual Beltway crowd, staffers, officials, and power brokers, mingled, savoring a brief escape from the pressures of government life, blissfully unaware that their evening was about to take a dramatic turn. In a quiet corner, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent sat alone, his presence both commanding and discreet. As a key architect of U.S. economic policy, Bessent was no stranger to scrutiny, yet tonight he seemed to relish a rare moment of solitude. His calm demeanor belied the weight of the decisions he carried, choices that rippled far beyond the restaurant's elegant walls. Outside, however, a different kind of energy was building. A group of activists, driven by frustration and a sense of urgency, gathered in the shadows. They meticulously prepared protest materials, their faces set with determination. Their goal was clear: to confront the comfort of the powerful and force them to reckon with the suffering their policies had caused. For these activists, Bessent's peaceful meal was more than just a private moment. It was a symbol of the widening gap between those who make decisions and those who live with their consequences. The restaurant's warmth and luxury stood in stark contrast to the hardships faced by many outside its doors, fueling the activists' resolve to make their voices heard. Meanwhile, across the city, President Trump was preparing for a major address that would capture the nation's attention. The air was thick with expectation, as citizens and officials alike awaited his words. Against this backdrop, the stage was set for a dramatic collision between policy and protest, privilege and pain. The calm inside Revelers' Hour was about to be shattered, as activists burst into the restaurant. Their message was clear and urgent, a demand that the suffering of the unseen and unheard could no longer be ignored. In that moment, the boundaries between comfort and crisis, power and protest, would blur, leaving an indelible mark on everyone present. The activists were from CODEPINK, a women-led movement known for bold, disruptive protests against U.S. wars and militarism. Dressed in unmistakable pink, they entered the restaurant not to dine, but to confront power directly. CODEPINK's philosophy is simple: direct action is essential when lives are at stake, and policymakers are insulated from consequences. Their target tonight was the use of economic sanctions, a form of warfare, they argue, that devastates ordinary people. The restaurant setting was chosen to force a reckoning, making the comfort of the powerful impossible to separate from the suffering their policies cause. The activists were ready for discomfort, determined to make their message unforgettable. This was not just protest, it was a demand for accountability, staged in the heart of privilege. The restaurant's ambiance shattered in an instant as Olivia DeNucci, a CODEPINK activist, struck her glass with a sharp, deliberate motion, commanding the attention of everyone in the room. The gentle hum of conversation faded, replaced by a tense silence as all eyes turned toward her. In that moment, the elegant setting, crystal glasses, flickering candlelight, and the soft clink of silverware, became the backdrop for something far more urgent. Olivia stood tall and raised her glass, not in celebration, but in condemnation, her gaze fixed unwaveringly on Secretary Bessent. Her presence was magnetic, her intent unmistakable. The room, filled with dignitaries and well-heeled guests, seemed to shrink as she spoke, her words slicing through the air. "I'd like to make a toast," she began, her voice steady and resolute. With those words, she transformed what was meant to be a private, exclusive dinner into a public tribunal, her tone making it clear this was no ordinary toast. DeNucci's accusation was direct and unflinching. She called out Bessent for enjoying the comforts of luxury, while, in her words, his policies left countless people abroad hungry and desperate. She labeled it economic warfare, a charge that echoed through the hushed dining room. The room froze, the air thick with shock and disbelief. Diners exchanged uneasy glances, caught between outrage and curiosity, as the activists seized the moment to make their voices heard. Restaurant staff hesitated, unsure whether to intervene or let the confrontation play out. The activists, however, pressed on, their determination clear. They were here to hold power accountable. no matter the discomfort it caused. This mock toast was more than just an interruption. It was a bold demand for visibility, for justice, and for those in power to answer for their actions. The act itself was a statement. The voices of the unheard would no longer be ignored. In that instant, the restaurant was transformed into a stage for a confrontation rarely witnessed in such elite spaces. A moment where protest and privilege collided, and the call for accountability could not be silenced. With the room silent, DiNucci delivered the core accusation. How many will die because of the blood on your hands? She cited a staggering figure, over 600,000 deaths annually from sanctions, grounding her claim in a Lancet report. The activists argued these deaths weren't abstract statistics, but the direct result of policies Bessent oversaw. By referencing credible research, they challenged the notion that sanctions are a harmless tool. Their message was clear. Economic policy is a matter of life and death, and those responsible must face the consequences. The protest was a voice for unseen victims, demanding that the human cost of sanctions be acknowledged. The confrontation forced everyone present to reckon with the reality behind bureaucratic decisions. Secretary Bessent responded not with dialogue, but with defiance. Raising his wine glass in a silent, dismissive toast, he followed with a sharp retort, "You are ignorant, and you have no idea how ignorant you are." The room's reaction was mixed. Some booed, others watched in uneasy silence, the tension palpable. Bessent's refusal to engage underscored the gulf between policymakers and those affected by their decisions. According to CODEPINK, Bessent soon confronted staff, then stormed out, his dinner ruined. For the activists, driving a powerful official from his comfort zone was a victory, a reminder that public dissent can reach even the most protected. The confrontation left a lasting impression, both in the restaurant and beyond. To understand the protest, we must understand sanctions penalties imposed by countries to pressure governments without military force. Sanctions can freeze assets, block trade, and cut off access to global markets, aiming to force regime change or policy shifts. Supporters call them a non-violent tool, but critics argue they devastate entire populations, not just leaders. When a nation is isolated, its economy collapses, currency falls, inflation soars, and public services crumble. The most vulnerable, children, the sick, the elderly, suffer most, facing shortages of food, medicine, and clean water. Activists call sanctions economic warfare, their effects as deadly as bombs. The suffering is not collateral, it's the main event. For CODEPINK, this is a moral crisis demanding urgent action. The claim that sanctions kill hundreds of thousands is backed by research, including the Lancet's findings on unilateral sanctions. These policies create crises, blackouts, water contamination, and food shortages that erode societies from within. Sanctions disrupt supply chains, making even exempt goods like food and medicine nearly impossible to import. The result: malnutrition, preventable disease, and daily struggle for survival. For activists, these aren't numbers, they're real people. A child denied medicine, a family unable to eat. Policymakers may speak in abstractions, but for those living under sanctions, the consequences are brutally real. The protest was a demand to see the faces behind the statistics. Accountability, they insisted, must start with those who design these deadly policies. The confrontation with Bessent was part of a long tradition of direct action protests targeting powerful officials. CODEPINK and others use bird dogging, confronting leaders in personal spaces, to pierce the bubble of privilege and force public reckoning. These actions disrupt the status quo, generating media attention and sparking debate. In recent years, similar protests have targeted officials over policies like family separation, igniting national conversations about civility and accountability. Critics decry the loss of decorum, but activists argue that discomfort is minor compared to the suffering caused by policy. Bessent's own history of heated responses only heightened the drama, drawing more attention to the activist cause. For protesters, provoking a reaction is part of the strategy, forcing the powerful to face the consequences of their decisions. Protests like this erupt when people feel democracy's normal channels have failed them, when petitions, letters, and polite appeals go unanswered, frustration builds, and citizens take to the streets to make their voices heard. These moments are not just about anger, they are about reclaiming agency in a system that often feels unresponsive or indifferent. Direct action becomes a last resort to force policymakers to confront the human impact of their choices. It's a way for ordinary people to demand accountability, to insist that those in power cannot ignore the consequences of their decisions. These confrontations are often uncomfortable, but they are designed to break through the noise and force a reckoning with reality. The goal is twofold. First, to challenge officials face to face, making it impossible for them to look away. And second, to capture public and media attention, amplifying the message far beyond the immediate moment. By engaging the press and the public, activists hope to spark conversations that might otherwise be suppressed or ignored. Dramatic confrontations amplify the message, making the stakes visible to a wider audience. The intensity of these moments can cut through apathy, forcing society to grapple with uncomfortable truths. They serve as a wake-up call, reminding everyone that real lives are affected by policy decisions. Activists hope repeated actions will shift public opinion, making economic warfare politically and morally untenable. Through persistence, they aim to build momentum, drawing more people into the movement and pressuring leaders to reconsider harmful policies. Each demonstration is a step toward changing the narrative and inspiring others to take a stand. The protest at Revelers' Hour was more than an outburst, it was a calculated act of dissent. By targeting a high-profile event, activists ensured their message would reach influential ears and disrupt business as usual. Such actions are carefully planned to maximize impact and draw attention to issues that are too often overlooked. It embodied a clash of worldviews, sanctions as statecraft versus sanctions as collective punishment. On one side, officials defend their policies as necessary tools. On the other, protesters highlight the suffering these measures inflict on ordinary people. This confrontation forces a public debate about the true cost of political decisions. In a democracy, such disruptions ensure that the suffering of the marginalized cannot be ignored, even in the most exclusive spaces. By bringing their message directly to the halls of power, activists remind us that democracy is not just about voting, it's about making sure every voice, especially those most affected, is heard and acknowledged.